Hey, it's Dan, and welcome back to Unified Gaming. Now, in today's video, guys, we're going to look at 6.1.1. It's the second week of the Stonethorn DLC, which looks absolutely great. Like, there's loads of changes to this just patch come in, so make sure that you are subscribed, so you are up to date, because you're going to have to change your characters quite drastically if we're not careful. And like with all of these videos, they aim to help you get better. As with kind of the PTS generally, the kind of usual sort of rule of thumb is that notes come out week 1, week 2 there's a few adjustments, week 3 there's loads of adjustments, and then it kind of week 4 some tweaks, week 5 not many. So I'm going to go through kind of end of this week, start of next week, going through with real kind of examples from the PTS, like actual live gameplay, so you can see it yourself. I'll probably be doing some on Twitch as well this Saturday, so jump in. So obviously Twitch, there's a link in the description to that. But without further ado, we're going to jump straight into this sort of patch note review, give you my opinion on all the changes and what is good, what is bad, especially from a PvP standpoint, as lots of you know I do Battlegrounds mainly. So for the changes, as you can see, they've just done a few tweaks. This isn't a big kind of review, so it's quite a short video. They've changed a few things for the gamepad. They've done loads of changes to the dungeons, which is typical. They've made a few changes to combat though, okay? So general, fix an issue where abilities that cost health and dealt damage would fail to be incorporated into a target dummy's damage per second calculation. That means nothing in PvP. They did, however, fix a few issues with like slotted passives from Werewolf, which could be useful, so you might get some slight passive buffs that you didn't get, so that's a nice buff. The big one though, for me, is this Dragonknight change. They've basically fixed coagulating blood, because on live it is terrible. Like, I've been playing the heavy attack hero, which there's a video on the channel, it abuses heavy attacks, it's really stupid, it hits really hard with them. And the issue that build has, and any mag DK has, is just healing. Like, you can't bounce back quickly, so you are kind of reliant on a healer or just stacking into just really high healing or heavy armor. Thankfully, they have kind of listened to people and said coagulating blood is now better, so they increased the base healing of this ability by 12%, which doesn't sound huge, but what it will basically mean is that it's going to be kind of similar to kind of Breath of Life, Honor of the Dead, that kind of stuff, above 50%, not massive, but as you get lower and lower, so below 50% health, you will then get more and more benefit. So the idea is that kind of 50% is the turning point. Above 50 is not quite as good as Honor the Dead, but below 50% is going to be better and better and better the lower your health gets. So this is like a really good reaction heal. The idea is that if you're, say, 30% health, this will give you a really big heal back, probably about 6-7k now rather than 4,000. So this is a really good change, and I will be testing this on PTS probably this weekend. So as I said, jump into Twitch. And as for Necromancer, they've actually fixed a bug which I wasn't aware of. So Pestilent Colossus, which is the stamina morph of the Flesh Atchnok, basically when you use it, it has big AoE. People could dodge it. Didn't know that. So people could actually dodge it where, you know, you'd hit that. And so what you're probably going to see now is that actually when you use this ultimate, it's going to be more reliable, and you'll probably get more kills when you probably didn't, because people rolled out the way, even though they were still in a circle. So this is actually a buff indirectly, and it's a really good change. It's kind of a fix. They've done something Werewolf, means you don't see issues when you're trying to use the duo mounts, nothing massive there. They've changed a few crafted sets, the big ones down here, which we'll get to in a moment. Dreamer's Mantle and Drago's Heritage, they've just fixed a few issues with that, that's really it. They've also fixed an issue with the sort of stun and the kind of targets affected, but that's nothing massive. The big one though is New Moon, and it doesn't look big on paper, but it actually is a really big change. New Moon Acolyte, reduce the weapon and spell damage granted from the 5-piece bonus to 401, down from 481. So it's lost 80 weapon damage, which doesn't sound big. This was done to obviously make up for the fact that people can kind of just overcome the resource cost quite easily, especially on stamina. Like, you get 15% cost reduction always. I don't know if you're aware, but if you play a stamina character, you have a built-in 15% cost reduction before any armor, before any skills, passives. So this kind of penalty wasn't really applying. Nobody really felt it. You could literally run this freely and just gain loads of extra damage. Now, I've been hearing people on my Discord, there's obviously a link in the description about that, going, well, New Moon's dead. I'm not going to use New Moon. It's terrible on a sniper. And I don't think that's the case. I think New Moon is kind of still going to be really good. And when you compare it to like Hunding's Rage and kind of Julianus, for example, they're comparable sets. They're 300. So this is still like a damage buff for slightly more resource cost. So I do think this will still be a good set to use. It just won't be as kind of, this is the best in slot set that everybody goes to, whether you're Magicka or Stamina. Like Stamina Templar, Magicka Templar would use it. All the Stam builds pretty much used it as like best in slot. So I think this is a really good change, and it helps with build diversity. It does mean you will have slightly less damage though, particularly on stamina builds, which in all honesty, stamina is really oppressive currently, so I think that's a good change. And then they have fixed a typo, so they actually had it on live where the enchantment potency was 90%, but it's actually 45, and it was coded as 45. It was just a typo in the patch notes, but they've just fixed that. So Torag's pack is still going to be pretty good. I did get quite a good buff from last patch. There's a review on the channel already, so do check it out. But those are the main crafted sets. As for dungeon and arena sets, nothing massive in all honesty. They've just reduced the crit damage from the the new set down to 5%, so it's not huge. Spell power cure had a big buff last patch, but now it's nerf, but still a really good set. If you overheal somebody, you will give them major courage, which is 250 weapon damage and spell damage. It's really good. So that is a buff to before, but it's now 5 seconds. So you have to constantly keep healing them to get this buff on, and there's no target cap. So the idea is that if you're just layering hots, you've probably got a good chance of keeping this up all the time in PvE and in PvP too. So this is a really good change. So healers, grab this set if you can. And then the big one, which I know everybody are going, Unleash Terror, that is so OP, and it is. Even with this change, it is still ridiculous. They've basically just left the damage as it was. It's 22,000 tooltip roughly, over 10 seconds. For comparison, Icy Conjurer is 19,000 roughly, over I think it's 10 seconds as well, and that is really nasty. But Icy Conjurer can hit one target only, and it can be dodged. This can't be dodged, and you can hit multiple people with this. So on a sorcerer with streak, this will hit on every single person. So if you streak into a Zerg, you will proc this set on every person. It is ridiculous. So this is still a really strong set, and if it doesn't get changed, it's going to be really oppressive. My solution to this, and I think it's a solution to all proc sets, is if it's a damage proc set, make it scale with your damage. So the idea is that if it's a stamina, like physical, poison, disease, the higher your weapon damage stamina, for example, the more damage that proc would do. So it will have a base, and it will go up based on how much weapon damage you have and stamina. And likewise for Magicka too. So it avoids the 45k health builds that they're on PTS now. They're absolutely disgusting. 45k health, 25, 30k armor, and they use 3 proc sets, and all they do is just proc you to death. That is literally it. They are hitting as hard as the builds on live currently, but they're pretty much unkillable in a 1v1, and that's not okay. And you got the people using Azur's Blight with this set, and the Masters 2H, I think it is, the one that gives you the extra dot when you use Stampede. So this is a really strong set, guys. So if this goes live, you want to get this. Basically, it's so broke. And then as for the mythic items, they've actually changed Stranglers somewhat, and they've got a really big essay down here which I've read. But basically what they're doing for Stranglers is going, well, people moaned that you can't keep it up all the time now because it was 30 seconds. They've now made it to 10 minutes, so it's not a perfect fix, but the idea is that it's going to be 10 minutes and you can get up to 2,000 weapon or spell damage. It gives you both, but you have to kill 50 things. So the idea is that you can't keep it up in trials forever. Not everybody could run this and have just really high DPS. So some people will have to drop this. And in PvP, this is really good because if you die, you lose all your stacks. So having to get to 50 to get that weapon and spell damage is going to be a really it's just a really good buff, because it means that people can't abuse the whole I'll go as a sorcerer and basically streak around to get the buffs up and then just nuke people from a Zerg with 15 to 18k crystal frags. That won't be a thing. And then anybody that does use this, you are really reliant on all of your teammates keeping you alive. If they don't heal you, you are going to die. So this is a really good change. So I think this will make this much better for PvP. It doesn't fix it fully, in all honesty, but it's a much it's more of a compromise for PvP and PvE. So this is a good change. And then if you change a few things for PvP, so Materia Service, they just gave it some more armor, 100, nothing. They've also fixed some issues with Ravager, which didn't proc and Crystal Weapon. That's the new stamina. Sorcerers spammable, which is amazing. I have been testing it, but I do expect some changes next week, which is why I haven't made a video just yet. And then for Olorums, they've actually changed it. So the little circle on the floor used to last 10 seconds, and that was the thing that gave you the weapon and spell damage, which was really cool. It's now 5 seconds, and it does have a 6-person target cap. So in theory, you can hit 30 people total with this, 6 on the first cast, 6 every second thereafter. So you can still hit loads and loads of people with this, and this lasts 20 seconds. So compared to Spell Power Cure, this has a much higher uptime. Like, you can hit loads of people, especially in PvP and a Zerg. I put this in the middle of the Zerg and you can all get this buff for a very long time. The thing with Spell Power Cure though is that you can like apply it for 5 seconds on the move. So that's sort of like the trade-off. This is very good for like static fights. So if you're playing in Battlegrounds, it won't be too great. If you're playing in Imperial City, it's actually relatively okay. Especially in Cyrodiil with like resources and stuff, this is really good. So this is going to be more kind of that. But if your group's very kind of, you're on the move in a small scale group, this won't be for you, and you'll probably want Spell Power Cure. So those are like the changes for PvP for these sets. And then the big one, which I think like this is amazing, they've changed Bloodthirsty again. So what they basically said was Bloodthirsty is like a pseudo execute. The idea is that the lower the target's health, the more damage you do to them, up to 350 now, not 250. So this is a really big damage buff. And the idea is that when they're below 90% health, you get a little bit more damage each, like 1% they get lower and lower and lower. So from testing and from seeing like PTS forums and stuff, 63% is the turning point on infused. So if you ran infused jewelry with like spell damage for PvE, by the way, this is PvE, 63% or less, Bloodthirsty is better. So what you'll probably find in PvP is that actually this is a really good trait for Magicka classes. If you can move away from a shield, if you can move away from like a big hill, this would be a really good way to just get those killed on things like Magicka Dragonknight, Magicka Warden. So I honestly think that this change here will really fix those classes lacking in execute. So it's probably worth now trying to get some of these pieces to research, because it's going to save you a lot of time. And a big tip which nobody tells you is you can research this ring, or say on one character, and research a necklace on another and transmutate it. You can do it at level 1, it takes 4 hours. So you can actually get this straight away, just making a brand new character if you need. So this is absolutely fine, and it's definitely worth considering for next patch. As for kind of base game, there isn't massives in all honesty. Like, there's nothing drastic down here, so you read it yourself. There's a link in the description to this page, as I said. But that is kind of the patch. It's a very small patch. There's nothing drastic to it. As I said, all of the patch kind of notes have been covered in the previous video. So if you want to see what is happening with obviously the PTS and next patch especially, go back and watch it. There's a link in the description to it, which will really help you out. But my thoughts on this, I think it's good. I think actually they're kind of moving in the right direction. They are changing the kind of really OP set, which is good. It needed a nerf. And they are kind of adjusting Bloodthirsty because it wasn't as good as it could be because of not getting obviously major sorcery or major brutality on it. So it's now a really good set, like good trait to use in PvP especially, and in PvE. So that's a really good option there. It does seem like they're somewhat listening, but you know, as I said, all of the big changes generally come in week 3, so there'll be much more gameplay sort of videos in week 3, so next week. So if you are liking these kind of videos, then like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. But I'm going to wrap this video up here. Huge thank you to all of the Patreons. Like, they're obviously helping with YouTube and stuff. It really, really means a lot. It allows me to make more videos. So if you want to obviously help me make more videos and just grow the channel and the community, then obviously feel free to donate on Patreon. There's a link in the description. It really, really helps. And they're also helping with the website as well. I've recently posted like a new template I've been working on. So I've been working with another person, Matadots. He's really, really helpful. He's kind of outlined the desktop version. I've done the tablet and mobile versions, and it's like the new build format. So it'd be really helpful if you could go and just look at it. There's like a little link to it in the community tab on YouTube. So you need to be subscribed to see that, but it is there. There's also a link in the description on this video, and there's also a link in my Discord as well. So if you want to see it, let me know what you think of it. If it's really, really popular, I will then obviously use that format for all of the builds, and they'll be on the website within probably 2-3 weeks. So you better see every build written up fully, but I want to kind of get it right rather than having to undo all of that work. But as I said, this is a long enough video as it is. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care, and bye.